Looking through the STOXX 50, usual running order. AB InBev slipping below this 54. We've been down here before and it's reversed. Just this big long range bound. Unless it's back above this 54.50, the next stop's down here at the low. Nothing much to do, just stuck in this big long range and hard to do anything with it, to be honest. Royal A hold has been nice, kind of flagged this up. This sort of break at this high has acted well since. Good follow through, nice relative strength, so continues to look strong. Adidas slipping a little bit. You can see it here, just not making much progress, trying to get away from this area. It needs to do that quickly. So there is support down here in the 210s, but we want to see this back above 220 in relatively short order. So one to watch, doesn't want to get any weaker. Adian is interesting because it's trying to form, trying to reverse from where it is down here, with limited success, but just an interesting candle today. The space in the US has been very bullish, so it's just a surprise it hasn't kind of latched on to that. So nothing to do but just kind of monitoring that little spike today. Air Liquide slipping here. Similar kind of story for most French names. Relative has deteriorated or just is slipping. It's not a bad overall setup, and I wouldn't be surprised if it flicks in the other direction. But you're in this kind of range bound setup now, and I think you're just, you got to wait for some bigger directional move, and I don't think you need to be early. Airbus is holding up. As we said here, the seller's dried up down here. It's rallied well. Far superior to Boeing even still, but in saying that, below the 200-day, trapped above this, so just not a very clean setup, but there are probably worse ones out there. Allianz continues to look impressive. I would note the relative, which is down the bottom here. We're going to make a new relative high. Neat little pullback here, and you can see just popped above it today, so it continues to look good. The relative is the real eye catching piece. ASML, again, I'll zoom in here. Obviously, really struggling with semis. Pullback here has been severe and messy and all over the place. It is holding the 600. Good candle today in that it engulfed all of yesterday. Would like to see a follow through tomorrow. I think if you do, you can have a bit more conviction that this could be starting to improve. So certainly one to focus in on, and it's definitely going to be a key name for Europe. BASF, terrible, still deteriorating, and that looks lower. It looks like Bayer looks what the other one will be in a few weeks' time. Very weak, deteriorating, relative extension, and just not one to bother with. BBVA has tightened up here. I think if it can get above this sort of 980 area, it's going to look good, but needs to go and do it. Solid. BMW, again, these need, it's the same story. They need a big reversal. Today was a start, but I think you need to see this well above 70, possibly above 72, and then I think the picture looks a lot different and it gets a bit more exciting. Could happen, but needs some sort of price catalyst here to shake things up. Danone probably just lost a bit of momentum here, didn't hold the gains up here, has slipped back. Reasonably well supported now with the rise in 200-day, and I'm sure it's going to be fine, but just maybe lost its shot at kind of a quick move higher. BNP is slipping and weak. Just hasn't been able to garner any positive momentum. Some support down here, but again, that probably needs a real big kind of key reversal day to shake it up. And not sure if that's going to come. AXA, obviously much better than a BNP. Deutsche Börse still holding in the right area. I'd like to see it get up towards the top end of this range, but still, the relative still looks very strong and looks like it's still coming. Vichy, don't like it. Just not making any progress in getting away from this area. 200 days above, and like the risk is to the downside. The likelihood is it won't, because there's a big block of support here, but just very difficult to engage with here, and the relative just no power there at all. DHL too close to this big level, obviously can reverse from here and hold this range, and maybe that's what happens, but just wouldn't trust it. Deutsche Telekom, very strong, still grinding, very impressive. SLR, still one of the best names. You can see this relative, it's really exploded since October. Good follow through up here, and definitely trending. So, an impressive name. So, no reason to doubt it yet. Enel slipped. Utilities generally have slipped. Iberdrola will be the same when it pops up. And after looking like it was going to extend up here, just didn't. No follow through, and I'd say sideways will be a good result from here. E&I solid. You can see the relative has improved slightly. It's just in this big range. It needs to make progress though. It needs to be higher, quicker. So not convinced on it, but it's kind of hanging in there. Iberdrola, I'd say slightly better than an L, but only marginally, and not one that probably, I think it doesn't look like a buy the dip here. It looks like it's gotta need some time to settle down. Infineon, probably running into very much into last chance saloon here. Needs to be above 30.50, even higher, potentially 31.50. Then it looks better, but right now you really are clinging to this, so it's one that definitely needs help over the next couple of days. ING has weakened, doesn't look so convincing, and is a lot heavier compared to some other names, some other banks. So definitely one that's slipped down kind of the pecking order, both at a sector level and at a market level. Intesa, didn't hold the gains back into the range. Rising 200 days should help stop the slide, but does look like this move for it is over, and probably a period of sideways is needed. Inditex, if I just zoom in, nice looking reset over the past couple of days. Probably one, if you see another good day tomorrow, is going to be a leader. So looks to have really settled down. Kering, terrible still, but it is going to be the tell in luxury. I still would kind of go with the view that the group will not bottom until it does, and I think it needs to be above a minimum 225, but in reality probably needs to be well above this area, which is kind of 250 even. So it needs a big reversal, and has been a disaster year to date. So even over the past 3 years. Mercedes is the same as BMW. It's holding this 51 area, but these now all need to get as far away from this support as possible. If they do, then obviously something like this can happen, but it needs to do that sooner rather than later. LVMH has still no different to the rest, cannot get out of its own way, hovering down around some key levels. I just have this suspicion, like if you look at it here, this 540 550, 545 area has, looked like it's going to happen all year, and we're so close to it now. I'd be surprised if it doesn't tag it. Maybe you get a big kind of key day reversal and you get it back above 600, but not obvious that's coming. But we'll see. Munich Ray again, like Allianz, leading, rallying, excellent, very strong. Nordea, I think it is different to all the other banks, and I do like the way it's tightened up here, but I think it needs to make that break now and see if we can get something going. Nokia, I think, had its chance. Too big of a pullback. It's into support, but wouldn't trust it, and definitely better names. L'Oreal has slipped all the way back into a key level. Little bit of a bite today, which maybe helps, but has been a disaster. So we'll see how far it can pull away from this level, if at all. That's your key. Is, look, you need to be 340 or better with a bit of power and a bit of volume. It's a long way from the 200 day, and that's, I think, why you might get some sort of reaction. Prozus, yeah, look, the China names just haven't followed through. It's been much better than a lot of them. Maybe there's another move. Would still hold that hope, but it's demanding more patience than one would like. Ferrari, I think the best result is sideways. It's definitely lost momentum. It warned up here, has made no real progress since, but has managed to bounce off the 200 day. If it held the range and got a bit stronger, I think the kind of shorts would definitely run scared. But I'd say, it's sideways from here. I think it's going to take a good bit of work to get it through the top end of this range, and really, I think if it holds in here, you're just into this up, down, up, down. So yeah, I think it's still solid without being spectacular anymore. Pernod, deeply oversold. Like, for a name of its size, the drawdown is very significant. But as yet, even there's very little in terms of bottoming price action, big engulfing. Maybe it changes, but these still look drifty. But they're a long way from kind of the prior highs and even the more recent. So they're already into that kind of accelerated down phase. So difficult to do much with them. Hermes, just again no different to the rest of them. It's probably better than some of the luxury, but just no momentum. Needs some a price catalyst to get it moving. Safran, probably one of the better ones outside of kind of like the Alliances and the Munich Rays. Like, look at the relative, still grinding higher. Looks up there with kind of a Essilor as something different. Sanofi, just really predatory, but the clues were there for Sanofi. I mean, it's been a really messy range-bound name for a long period, and that's why it was never going to get the traction it needed, and you can see how quickly the move has reversed. And yeah, until you get a better price action, it's just one to not bother with. Banco Santander, this has got a lot better. Really kind of nice, tight setup. Lots of the banks are maybe struggling. It looks really nicely primed. So one for a bit of focus over the next day or two to see if it can make that break. SAP has been superb. Still leading, still making new highs, and hard to fight it. Saint-Gobain, again, very strong, one of the leaders. That group really hasn't changed all year. Siemens, a bit tricky here because it made the break, has come back in more than you would want, but for now just about hanging in there. This needs to go the other way quickly. If it does, then yeah, there's something to aim for. But it's choppy and messy and hard work. Stellantis, yeah, if autos break the lows, this one's got probably the most downside, I would say. Now maybe it can hang in there, maybe it can reverse, um, but it's a vulnerable spot here, and you'd like to see, can it maybe pull off a double bottom potentially, but don't know, would you bet your life on it? Schneider, um, it's holding above this area, like Siemens is below it. There's very little between the two of them, um, but it has acted slightly better and just even held this level. So we'll see if it can get back above this 250 area. Relative has held in pretty well. Total slipping, but not a disaster. Unicredit pulling back into the support, just like in Tesa. Should hold, but not so convincing, and maybe not as exciting as it was 3 months ago. Volkswagen still struggling to find a floor, and I guess their worry is that there's no real pickup in volatility yet, which you usually see as they look to carve out bottoms, much like it did here. But obviously a long way off highs, so tricky. And Walters Kluwer, look, not a lot to say, just kind of grinding, pretty solid, but not a huge amount of momentum. So we shall see how it plays out. So I would say very much the usual suspects still looking strongest. Ahold, Essilor, Allianz, Munich Re, Safran, San, all kind of in that same leadership group that's been there, and SAP, and the others really just fighting a tough fight, as you look for sort of reversals and some bottoming price action.